So, hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Chatter. Today I am delighted to be joined by Marantz from Marantz Rantz. Man, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you have been a guest that's been requested quite a few times by people. We have, I think your channel is one of the channels that I have the most audience crossover with, according to the YouTube analytics, which is really interesting. And as a fellow GameStop enthusiast and GME shareholder, I feel like you're going to have some interesting things to say, especially as the community seems to becoming more and more splintered upon their opinions on what's going on and how much they're behind the decisions being made by Ryan Cohen and the board. So I think the best place to begin is... We've been in this for, I would say, what is it now? I assume you're an OG shareholder, so it's been just
over 4 years.
Yeah, just a little over 4 years, depending on when your first purchase was. It depends if you're a real OG. But we've been in this for 4 years, and as I was saying to someone the other day, it's been 4 years of thinking that things are about to kick off, basically. You know, it's been 4 years of thinking, but, you know, things are about to explode or things are going to go wild. What do you think? Like, are you wavering in your belief that something might happen with this stock, or are you still like firmly in the let's just see what happens camp?
I've never been in the let's just see what happens camp. And just for full disclosure for everyone watching the show, Josh, right, the host of the show, I've never talked to you.
No.
Text you.
No.
This is our first communication.
Literally.
No edits, no cuts. No. This is just us talking. So I want to make that very clear to people because you never know where someone's coming from, right? So the idea that I would sit across from you and say, hey, I'm hopeful. That's not where I'm at. I have been studying retail investing and retail, the function of, business for a long time, and seeing the changes that GameStop's making. It leads me to believe GameStop's going in a different direction, but it's almost like going to the gym. You won't see the results right away. Everyone wants to have that six pack and, and look great with their shirt off, but it's going to take you time. It's going to take you commitment. And that's what I see right now. I see GameStop cutting it up. I see GameStop doing the right thing at all times, and they've made a better business model, something you could scale off of. So that's what I've been noticing for GameStop.
Interesting. So you say go in a different direction. What do you mean by go in a different direction?
Well, let's think about it. And at the time when Ryan Cohen was coming into GameStop and writing to the board of directors, they had history of working with multiple different companies. And I would say equated to having relations with private equity. I've always said this part, where private equity gets into companies and they do leverage buyouts, publicly traded companies where they leverage the company. And GameStop had debt. GameStop expanded beyond any footprint that would be viable. They call it overstored, where you have more square footage than dollars coming in. And at that point, GameStop started cutting stores and started cutting the fat. And you can become viable. You can become profitable. You can sustain. You can stay alive forever if you stretch it out long enough. But it looked like everyone was writing GameStop off for dead. And Ryan Cohen came in and with a decisive plan. And, Matthew Furlong was the CEO before him. And I was noticing Matthew Furlong was not making the changes drastic enough, fast enough. It was like kind of trying to save face. It was like, okay, we can make a cut, but not too much. And it came to a point where you had to hit it hard, go cold turkey, for the lack of a better term. You had to go in there, chop it all off, and see what you can handle. And I think GameStop's been doing that. From my calculations, I think GameStop's closed over 700 stores this year. And I was counting them up the other day. Well, because I had a list of them. And we did some research, and we found over 400 stores in the U.S. and then internationally combined, over 733 stores have been listed as to being cut. And that means that if GameStop's cut off 18%, 17% of their footprint, and they're making more profit than ever, it goes tenfold. I can rattle off all the numbers for you, but that's not going to do it. The world hasn't caught up yet, and definitely Wall Street hasn't caught up with what the metric is to measure the value for GameStop. So that's why I'm still here, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
Is Wall Street starting to catch up? There's a lot of
Oh yeah.
institutional buying going on at the minute.
Oh yeah.
So do
Yeah.
you think
Absolutely.
that's what's happening then?
When I initially first got into GameStop, over 4 years ago, there was a 97% institutional ownership, and that was because it was shorted so much that people couldn't they couldn't account for all the shares. Then, as May came along of 2021, that number dwindled down all the way down to around 30%, 40%. So I've seen it drop off the whole time. Now you see over 590 institutions own GameStop right now. So I can only imagine that number go up if once people really start hearing and see. You know, the thing is, it's a turnaround company. And that's a big thing for Wall Street. They don't invest in turnarounds because they wait to see it happen. The old phrase is, I gotta see it before I believe it. And you have to see the whites of the eyes before you actually say, you know what? Yes, I believe in them. So GameStop will have to have this quarter report coming out. They'll have to show profit. That'll be 2 years of profit. But what it will do, it'll also show you there's no cash burn, there's higher profit margins, just everything they're doing right now, showing you the better business model for the legacy side of the business is the focus for me right now. And then, the what ifs, well, those are my back pocket. So I'm excited.
Hmm. When you say the legacy side, you just mean like in-store purchases of gaming consoles and games, essentially.
Yeah, I got into this conversation so many times over the years where people like to dwell on the fact digital, 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 gaming, gaming, gaming. And I would tell you there's more to business than just a product. The things that GameStop has done over these last 4 years, they've changed their business model. To give you an example of changing business model, they changed the hours of operation. By changing hours of operation here in the States, if you know brick and mortar,
Mhm.
it's a shift. You can actually manage the actual building with one full-time employee, two part-timers, so you can piece it together. You don't have to have multiple part-time. These are all controllables, by the way. You want to control your payroll, you want to control your merchandise, you want to control your margin, and GameStop has been able to do that. A couple things they've also done. They've renegotiated logistics. So when you look at the fulfillment centers closing down and logistically getting my product from point A to point B, it's called final delivery. What does it cost me? If you saw GameStop quarter 4 in 2022, they were at 16% on gross profit margin. They're now at 30%. So they've almost doubled their gross profit margin per quarter as they're going. So we'll see what comes out quarter 4. But GameStop's just done the right thing at all turns. You would think they've taken over the warranty business themselves. They've done more private label than ever before, and that increases margin. And so you see that on the bottom line. You saw their partnerships with CandyCon controllers. You've seen Mod Retro for the gaming consoles. And then you've seen the plushies, actually, the stuffed animals.
Mhm.
They actually own the company that does it. The little figurines, they actually are the parent company of the figurines. So people don't see these things happening in the background, but these are the things that create this moat around your company to keep everyone out of it. You're creating your own margin, your own value, and then the partnership to PSA gets announced.
Mhm.
And that's a big one for me, the PSA partnership for graded collectibles. Recently, that was just announced 2 quarters ago, and now you had a full quarter of it, quarter 4 right now. But the PSA announcement, it attracts a different crowd. It attracts a different shopper. It allows you to bring your cards to the store and get them graded. And that's a service. Service doesn't cost you anything. Services are free of inventory. They don't cost you things. So it's just net profit. And that hits the bottom line. So there's so many things that they've done, their own co-branded credit card, private label stuff that people just are not watching every turn like they should. But if you're in business and you understand it, this is why institutions are coming running. And they'll come more people come running once they see the profits, once they see the cash, but it takes time. It takes time and it's a turnaround. So a lot of people say they're a turnaround. A lot of people make bets on turnarounds, but when you do and you buy it for cheap, that's how you're going to win. So that's GameStop right now.
Mm. When you say private label, do you mean that they're becoming, as you'd mentioned, there was something else, the parent company of products that they're selling? Basically,
I'll show you. I have let's do this right here. Yeah. So I have a Raptor 8. I don't know, it's blurry, whatever, because I'm in between. But
yeah.
this is a handheld Raptor 8, and this is new technology where you can plug in any phone, not just an iPhone. The PlayStation made this product first. They made what they call a backbone.
Okay.
So PlayStation made the backbone, and it was made for the iPhone. Well, guess what? There's more Androids and more Google phones and every other type of phone, in addition to the iPhone. So this plugs in any cell phone, and you can make your cell phone a gaming console. This is called a Raptor 8, and it's made by GameStop, private label. You'll also see behind me, I have a headset right here. This is a GameStop headset, private label. So it says GameStop on it. Anything with GameStop on it, those margins are going to be more. You would equate it to Sam's Choice and or Kirkland here in the States. Private label means the company and themselves own it. And that's how they make better margins.
Okay. That's really interesting because, I mean, obviously, some of the speculation in the community is not deeply based in things like this that you're saying. So, like, some of this is news to me that you're talking about. This could you speak a little bit? Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm going to cut you off. Okay. But here's the thing. I'm a fundamental guy. I'm a business guy. I care about the fundamentals of the business. I'm not on the hopium, right? The fundamentals of business are going to drive whatever hope you might have for your investment. But this is what the real business is, the real business model. I was saying earlier that people focus on the digital side of it, right? The gaming factor. And they'll go, hey, all games are digital. Well, guess what? GameStop sells consoles. They sell controllers. The most replaced product of any console is the controller. It's not the video games. It's not selling user. It's controllers. They stick drift. They get damaged, and you got to buy a new one. So GameStop's done that. They've also have retro gaming back into the fold, but they did it the right way. So there's so many things that they're doing better than ever before, and they're doing it with less, right? No CFO, no CEO, no board of directors are getting paid. There's no compensation there for anyone. There's no wasted dollars in this company. So that's why I'm loving it right now.
Yeah. Like, as someone who looks at fundamentals, have you seen this very often in the past or in other companies where there is the CEO / chairman taking no remuneration for the job that they're doing? That seems really out of the ordinary to me, but maybe that's not.
I've never seen it. I've seen people claim they get paid $1, right? They only take $1. And then, of course, they get stock options, they get awards, they get PSUs, RSUs. And that's one thing. But they've taken away the titles, too. You know, the title of CFO doesn't exist at GameStop because the CFO title would have had to hold a certain amount of shares and pay. So they got rid of that. And I think Ryan's really figured out that, you know, it's like anything when you're being a consultant to a company. If you can figure out what you don't need and you can run it just as well, and then admit defeat, admit when you get it wrong. You know, everyone likes to turn to the NFT marketplace and how they shut it down because it wasn't making a profit. That wasn't the telltale signs for me to be excited for GameStop and believe in Ryan Cohen. It was when he shut down the call center and he shut down the other fulfillment centers. He realized he didn't need a 500-person call center, and he didn't need 2 fulfillment centers, one in Pennsylvania, one in Nevada, you know, that they're overpaying for, when they could just ship it out directly, and they can use things like DoorDash for same-day delivery and use your own stores as hubs, as mailing hubs. So if you've gone into GameStops around the United States, there was 2,900 of them this year, and now there's around 2,500. And you know what they're using? They're using them as little distribution centers. So those employees have learned how to mail out product from their site. They're getting more deliveries than ever, but they're just mailing it to you so you get it faster. How else am I going to get this item faster? And they're actually beating out Amazon on timing. Amazon usually takes around 48 hours to deliver. GameStop's at around 36 to 24, dependent on how you do it. I ordered these headphones. It took me an hour, 15 minutes to get it here. So, and I did that live on the channel so I could show people just how great this company is.
Wow.
And that's where we're at.
So you could be sitting having a wee Saturday gaming session with your mates, console or the controller breaks, and you could have a new one within an hour.
Within an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. Without a doubt. That's GameStop.
I know takeaways that's taken longer than that.
Just imagine if people knew, though. You know, you gotta tell people it's tough. That's another battle. Algorithms or videos being shunned, and people, you know, there's a whole website created to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You know, the Meltdown is a subreddit, and there's people out there that will deny what's really happening with this company because I guess it's in their interest. But I would think a lot of them want to invest into the company, and I think they're just afraid to admit it. You know, that everybody lost out on this one except for the GameStop investors. And that's happening right now. So I'm excited.
You mentioned the NFT marketplace. Was that? Do you think there's something more to come from that, or was that just a misstep?
I don't think it's a misstep. You know, there's good and bad in all things in business. You learn. You learn from the good, you learn from the bad. You learn from good people, good managers, and you learn from bad ones as well. You learn what not to do. You know, this was a step that was taken and it was a transition, but you know, at the time they stated it was because of regulation, you know, crypto regulations that were coming down and what they believe in. I saw it. I saw it firsthand. I interviewed over 30 launch day creators on NFT Marketplace. I played many games that are NFT based, and it's the future. It really is. It has to have mass adoption, and it's going to take time. But they were ahead. They saw it. They saw it for what it was. But I won't give up on it just that easy. I just think it's a different space that we tried. Just like retro gaming, you know, a decade ago, GameStop tried retro gaming. It didn't work out. Right now, it's working out. It's all about timing. And now that they have the experience, they're one of the few companies in the world that can say that they have the experience and the acumen to do it. So maybe they're ready for it when it's ready to go. And that was a trial basis. And if that's all it cost you, it just cost you 1 year of down, you know, of a down round is what we call it. You're okay because the stock price is up 100% today, you know, from last year. So I think there's a good traction coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's an excellent point that you make. It's up, yeah. Well, I guess that was the sort of 2-3 year low that it hit, but that's still like if you were smart enough to buy the dip and had the funds, then you're sitting very pretty right now.
Every day,
yeah,
every day.
Honestly, I think you're right about the NFTs. I think it's the area that I'm waiting for someone to do it in is ticketing.
Yeah.
I'm expecting some company or Ticketmaster themselves to come along and be like, we can get rid of most of our fees because you're going to get NFTs. And then you can stop people reselling at ridiculous prices as well, because you can have it like locked into the contract of the NFT.
You know, going into that world of NFTs, Josh, it was that everything's an NFT in the future. Mail, right? Like you don't have to mail anymore. We can get rid of stamps. We can just send it to you. It's an NFT, any piece of mail. Like housing, your house, your deed. It's actually yours. You own it, and you have a copy of it. Like there was just so much going on there that I was in that world for a year, just embedded in it. My Twitter was overrun by it, and I was getting asked all these questions. We were giving away tens of thousands of dollars worth of NFTs. At the time, they were worth that. And now it's like, okay, now what are they worth? Because everybody's going on this route of, we got to slow down. We can't run to we can't run to it. Let it come to you. But that was the internet. That was America Online. That was Yahoo chat channels before you started building your own websites. Like you and I, we build YouTube. We build our MySpace. We build Facebook. Every time you put a picture up online, you're building it. You're building the internet. We built it, and it took us 30 years to get here. But I'll tell you, 30 years from now, what's NFT going to look like? What's the Web 3.0 going to look like? I don't know. They're building it. And if GameStop, everyone says they're building for something. Oh, yeah, we're in that business, but yet they don't hire for it. GameStop hired for it, and they went for it, and we saw it, what it was. So they have a path, and we'll see how it works out. But I don't write them off on it. It was a good experience to have and to see it coming.
Yeah, interesting. I'm curious to see where that technology will go, especially with Trump's sort of discussion of wanting to, bring crypto into your regulatory framework that will allow it to flourish, or at least be more legitimately governed, essentially, in a way that it can have mass adoption and be accepted by institutions. So I don't know exactly what format that's going to take at this point. Obviously, I don't think anyone does. But yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes.
Years. It'll take years. How about that?
Yeah, no, it probably will. But I mean, I would suspect that their committee that they've put together on crypto and stuff will not report until at least next year. In terms of like what they think should be done. I just hope that the right people end up on those committees and not just people trying to shill XRP like the Ripple people, basically.
Yeah, no, there's camps out there. You're familiar with the camps, and the problem is what people don't know. They don't know about the speed. They don't know about transactions. They don't know about gas fees. They don't know about layer 1 versus layer 2. There's a lot of things they don't know. And once they get into that world, and they'll figure it out, and they'll figure out that it does need to be regulated, and you need to see it for what it is. But you're years beyond it, only because you have to adopt it. You have to adopt it, and it has to have an application for it. Like, you have to have a reason to do it. So you can name any coin you want, altcoins or stable coins. You can do all that. It won't matter. It won't matter. We're backed by the US dollar at the moment. The world that's the reserve currency. And until they show me that Fort Knox is empty, gold is going to be God's money. And if it is empty, that thing's going to $10,000 tomorrow. So there's just a lot going on in the world. And me, I just enjoy GameStop. That's just me. But I'm aware of everything around me. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would like a Fed audit. I think. I'm not sure if that would collapse the world economy or not. If it turns out,
yes,
if they open the vault and there's cobwebs, like that might collapse the world economy.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, so I'm all for revealing the truth, but there's a concern, which is, I mean, I would suspect that's why it has never been audited, but that would just be wild speculation.
Yet.
Anyway,
Sure.
The other thing that I wanted to definitely ask you about is this Bitcoin talk. Or maybe we just start. Maybe we start with what do you think that they're going to do with the 5 billion, and then we'll get more specific.
Okay, so having cash is everything, right? I tend to follow trends, and the trend first is Walmart. Walmart comes out and announces they're going to have a downtrend. They're actually coming out with guidance that comes in lower than growth, and you can't have that. You can't have that when the world's number one retail store tells you people are going to stop spending money with them. That's a telltale sign of a recession, right? So I look at that first. Then I look at Warren Buffett, the world's richest man. Don't get it confused. It is not Elon Musk. It is not, Bezos, and it's not Zuckerberg. It's Warren Buffett. And the reason why it's Warren Buffett is because he's liquid. He has cash. If all those guys sold off all their shares, their price would plummet. People would be like, why don't you believe in your company? Warren Buffett is managing $360 billion of cash right now, his largest cash position ever. To give an example, in 2023, he had 160. He had 150. Now he has doubled that. It's 360, and he's waiting for this market to bottom. Now, he might die, but his whole crew knows exactly what they're going to do. They're going to buy controlling stakes in the companies that they can afford and that they want. And they're going to get that because a correction is here. You're at the heaviest the market's ever been. So to have all this cash, and you're in a position to take control of companies, you then become a holding company, like Berkshire Hathaway is, like GameStop is. So having $5 billion, at your disposal is one thing. To go park it into crypto, it's a little iffy because you can't control it. But you got to know, 96% of all Bitcoin is owned by institutions. Since 2017. They literally own it, everything. They can manipulate that price all they want. These companies that are backed by like MicroStrategies, which is called Strategy now, and Michael Saylor, those guys buy Bitcoin as their reserve for their company, and their price went from $500 a share all the way to $200. Like they fluctuate with that market. So if you want the highs and lows of it, sure, then GameStop can get into that dance. I'm not a fan of it that way. I'm more of a fan of sitting on cash, letting it go up on interest, and then when it's time, by controlling stakes in the things that you like, and invest it that way. But if they bought into Bitcoin lately, the timeline matches up with November 2nd. So GameStop did earnings. They announced as of November 2nd, here's how much cash we have. Then November 3rd and 4th, Bitcoin went from 67,000 all the way to 80, 90, all the way up to 109. So if it was GameStop buying in at that point, and then now we're cashing out right before the earnings report comes out, you're at 85, 86, 87 on Bitcoin. We would have taken off, we would have made about 40% on our cash that we put in. Who knows how much they put in if they did put in, but Ryan Cohen only follows 3 people on Twitter now. It used to be just one. It used to be just GameStop, but now it's GameStop, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Magazine. So I don't know what that means and what that tells the world, but it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter because I support Ryan Cohen no matter what he does. Ryan Cohen could burn down GameStop. I'm going to be right there sweeping up the ashes and saying, what's next? That's how I am with Ryan, because the kid's 30 something. He's 39 years old. He's a billionaire. He's made every investment that I would make. I was calling Alibaba at $53 a shame. I said, this is crazy. Alibaba's at $50, $60 a share. I've seen the cash that they hold. I know what type of retail they do. And it's a great company. Is the way the structure set up value-wise. It's all the way up to $120. And it was announced that he bought over $1 billion worth of it. So, yeah, he owns over $3 billion of Apple. He's the largest individual holder in the world of Apple. So if this kid's so lucky, or maybe he's just so smart, that's Ryan Cohen. So I'll invest with the next Warren Buffett named Ryan Cohen, and I'll let everyone else out there say that he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's in his 30s. You know what? How about this? How about he doesn't know what he's doing? How about he makes all the mistakes in the world? He still has all the time, all the tread on the tires to get back on it and do it right. And he's rich enough, he's smart enough, and I'm rolling with them. So I believe in Ryan Cohen more than anything, and that's where I'm at with that. Buy Bitcoin or not, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I've been googling some of your stats that you were pumping out here just to make sure that everything's above board, because
everything's legit.
So yeah, we found Warren Buffett. Yes, like even since last year, he's up from, it was in August of last year, it was 277 billion. What did you say about Bitcoin? You said 97% owned by institutions. Is that what you said?
Pretty much. It was 90 in 2017. They own 97%. I don't know what else has been farmed lately.
Yeah.
But they own the bulk of it, institutions.
Okay. Well, ChatGPT is saying that this is not accurate. But I mean,
okay.
It's saying that it's pulling up a bunch of sources for me. So I'll say,
Sure.
Business Insider says that a study from 2018 revealed 97% of Bitcoins were held by 4% of addresses. But saying that, yeah, it says, when I asked, I just said, I just asked Bitcoin 97% owned by institutions, ? And it said, the claim that 97% of Bitcoin is owned by institutions is not accurate. As of February 2025, institutional investors have significantly increased their holdings, but they do not control such a vast majority of the Bitcoin supply. It's saying BlackRock, their Bitcoin trust holds approximately 2.8% of the supply. MicroStrategy 2.3% of the supply. But that thing about the 4% of addresses holding 97% of Bitcoin is very interesting. I'd be really curious to know how many of those addresses are early hold or yeah.
It's a stat that I've gone over a couple of times now.
Okay.
I've looked for, but what I'm saying is institutions own Bitcoin, not people, not anything. Like when you get into it, you'll understand. Like they literally manipulate that. There's a reason why Bitcoin is the hedge. It's the hedge to your investments. So if you have institutional ownership of Bitcoin and you get to fluctuate it, pump and dump on it, does not matter. It's your collateral to your positions on the market. So we've known this. And you look at it, it's trillions and trillions of dollars. Crypto is just in general, not just Bitcoin. And so things like Doge is owned by like, I don't even know, like 20 wallets, like the bulk of it. But like when you find these metrics out, you don't have to beat yourself up over it. Just know if you're buying in, you're playing someone else's game. That's it. They've been in it for a long time. Everything that was farmed was bought up. When they split again, this was the last split they just did. Same thing happened where it's going to pump. It'll get you to 110, 120, whatever. You should see a retraction all the way down to 60, 40, somewhere in that range.
You think so?
Yeah. We went all the way to 70 before, retracted all the way back down to 18.
Yeah.
So
true. But I mean, the theory goes that that's no longer possible due to ETFs and institutional ownership. They reckon that there's a higher floor. You're smiling. Why is that? I'm not saying I believe that. I'm telling you, this is what I
Do you know who owns the ETFs? Do you know who owns the Bitcoin-backed ETFs, right? Private equity. I give an example. Strive, what were they called? Strive Assessment Investments or something like that. They're the ones who just tweeted Ryan Cohen yesterday and said, put $5 billion into Bitcoin. They manage the Bitcoin portfolio for any Bitcoin ETFs. So, I don't have to get involved with it this way. I just tell you, I don't care.
Okay.
I'm about business, I'm about fundamentals, and I'm about Ryan Cohen. So I'll let everyone do the speculation part. But you got to think about how many people watch the show, Josh. You know, you say this, you're most cross-platform between my show and your viewers, and they're like, hey, talk to Marantz. The thing is, the reason why we do so well with GameStop investors, because we actually have no bots, no infiltration. It's real people. I've been talking to real people for over 4 years on YouTube and, you know, and Twitter and about GameStop day in and day out, every day. I took today off because I wanted to talk to you, but absolutely, we care about this company. We support this company. You know, I walk the streets for GameStop. You know, I've done so many meet and greet videos where I've met hundreds of people, if not thousands, and I tell them how great GameStop is, and I give away free merch, and I just show them what they sell, what the partnerships are, and we go about it that way. So spread the word the best way you can, and you know, hedging, right? Hedge funds, and everyone says I want to hedge my position. Some people buy puts to hedge. You know what I do to hedge my position? I buy product. So I go to GameStop and I buy more product, and I'll keep doing that. That's my hedge. So
that reminds me of, I don't know if you saw it. There was, yes, years ago now, actually, there was a post. It was a guy who was trying to use GameStop vouchers as his bank account.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Oh,
Don't worry.
Yeah, I love some of the madness that's come out of this story.
Hey, I'm in a cult. They tell me I'm in a cult. I was, you know, one of those documentaries. I don't know if you saw it, the James Janney documentary, where he made all GameStop investors come out to be obsessive, and we're on the fence, and maybe we're wrong, but nah, not wrong. It's just, it's not even possible to be wrong on this. There's too much money involved, and there's too much profits, and too much fundamentals, and just too much common sense. We just got to get back to common sense, and that's where we're at.
So you believe heavily in Ryan Cohen. What do you make of the Bed Bath & Beyond play? What was going on there?
Sure. So that's one that I studied. You know, I studied very hard and long. I'm the first one to come out and tell everyone it was going to go bankrupt and when it was going to happen. And I literally got it right by like 5 days. So what happened was Ryan went into a company and he didn't know, you know, he's so young, might even be naive, where he goes into a company where he thinks he's going to make a change, you know, and he tells him, here's what we can do. Here's some value. We can extract it. And once you learn about private equity and you understand like how they manipulate and manage, he went into a company that was infiltrated with private equity. You know, Sue Gove getting named the CEO wasn't by accident. It was on purpose. It's because Ancura investments are there. So Ancura, Legion Partners, and Macellum are all there. Those same three companies bankrupt Big Lots. They're bankrupting Kohl's right now. They bankrupt Best Buy or Bed Bath & Beyond. I apologize. And it's going to keep happening. And the reason why these companies are involved, Ancura and Macellum, because they go over and they do hostile takeovers. They write the letters and they demand that you put their people on the board of directors. And Ryan was like, okay. So Ryan buys in at 9.8% of shares. Okay. And when you do that, there's a certain filing you have to do, and there's some disclosure there. But when you go over 10%, that's when it really gets live for you. And Ryan was at below 10% on purpose. When he went into those discussions, nobody talked to him. He wrote letters, he did emails, and he tweeted about it. He says, hey, I wrote a letter, I wrote an email, nothing has been received, and they haven't gotten back to me. What's going on, Bed Bath & Beyond? And you know what happened? They bought back shares with they had no cash, and they earmarked money for buying back shares, and that put them into default. They were violating their covenants. They couldn't make their bond payments, and they did it to themselves. It was self-induced, and they did it, and that changed Ryan Cohen's ownership amount from 9.8 to 10.4, 10.2. So he ended up owning more shares, and he was like, why in the world are they giving me more of this company? And that's his whole deal. So he went in there, probably saw what was really happening, kicking the tires between Holly Etlin when you go in there on the board of directors. And there's a whole connection that I've done. It's called Connect the Dots. It's my series on YouTube, 86 parts. But there was this thing about the Solo building. And you know, people don't know this part in New York. There's a Solo building. And on the first 24 floors of the Solo building, and back in 2018, 2019, in this time frame, was Avon. Mm-hmm. So you have to go through Avon Company, just to get up to your levels. And in your floors, there's Silver Lake, there's Apollo, there's all of them. All the private equity firms are all on about 5 different floors, separated by nothing. And it just so happens that all these board of directors on Bed Bath & Beyond worked for Avon. And that's the part where I was like, what in the world? They were all in the same building. They just went into the elevator room. They went to the lobby, and they, you know what? You want to come work for this company that we're gonna go ahead and gut? I mean, if that's the way they do it. But I could give you that story my whole life, as far as Mike Milken, the Milken Institute, Drexel Burnham Lambert, how they created the idea of manipulating outcomes. It's one thing to guess on a game, one thing to guess that a company's going to fail. I can accelerate that. Let me put my people on the board of directors and make the worst decisions possible, and we can accelerate it. And then they carve out the assets and they walk away. They were doing this, and they were doing it by giving you junk bonds. And Mike Milken in Drexel Burnham Lambert, they got arrested for this. They went to prison for this, and they shut down their institution in 1988, 1989. But those characters that were there at Drexel Burnham, they literally invented new companies, and they went and invented Apollo Global Management. So when you see Apollo doing it and they're gutting companies like Zelles, they went to Zelles in 1990, their first investment, Apollo's first investment. You know who's at Zelles? Sue Gove. Sue Gove was there for 25 years. And all of a sudden she wants to retire, and then she gets planted onto the board of directors of 6 other companies that Apollo owns. So yeah, I have a problem with private equity, and I do have a problem with the way they manipulate these outcomes, but they've done it for 40 years. It's not like something brand new. People know what this is. There's a book out there called The Caesar's Palace Coup. You can read it. You can also watch the movie called Barbarians at the Gate. And this explains to you how private equity does it and how they leverage. And once they're in, they're in. So private equity was at GameStop. That was Bill Simon from KKR. And when you looked at him, he was on the board of directors. And they all got kicked out. The minute Ryan walks in, he goes, all you guys get out of here. So you'll see a lot of those people that used to be at GameStop are now at other companies. And you wonder, you go, oh, no, wait a minute. That's how we know who's going bankrupt next. Because there's the private equity folks there just sitting there. They're consultants, Boston Consulting Group. GameStop kicked them out.
That was going to be my next question. BCG.
You kick them all out of your company, but just because you kick them out doesn't mean you won. There's other factors. Remember, they run the real estate. They run the benefits. They have the whole game rig. They run logistics. So you have to fight off everything. Ryan's been fighting off everybody secretly, and he's doing it the right way. So to partner up with Nat Turner and PSA, awesome. It's kind of like it's a catch-22, because that company's actually owned by Steve Cohen and the Mets and, Point 72, Collectors Universe. But it's okay, because Nat Turner's in charge. Nat Turner has been an angel investor in over 200 companies, and he's on the board of directors with GameStop, and he didn't charge a single dollar out of this partnership. GameStop just said, let us get some people to you, and we'll make it work. So that's the private equity angle for me. I avoid it like the plague, but I think Ryan went into Bed Bath & Beyond, saw it for what it was. He saw that he wasn't going to make a change. Gustavo Arnell jumped off, allegedly jumped off his balcony and killed himself, right? I don't know. I wasn't there, but suicide. You know what's the craziest thing about Gustavo Arnell?
No.
He used to work for Avon. If you think I'm crazy, I'll be crazy, but I'll tell you, go watch Connect the Dots Part 17. Go watch Connect the Dots Part 14, Part 7, Part 6. Doesn't matter which one you watch. You'll see exactly what we've been talking about for all these years. But I've been doing those episodes for like 2 to 3 years now. But yeah, it'll blow your mind. And then once you really wrap your head around it, you go, okay, I get it. I really get it. And I get the same thing about Vivek Ramaswamy. I get the same thing about Bill Pulte. These guys, the guys from the Bed Bath & Beyond crowd. Bed Bath & Beyond, we know it's gone. We know it went bankrupt. Guess what? They had a whole following. Says, go buy it now that it's filed for bankruptcy. And I was like, don't ever touch it. And those videos don't exist because they erased them. But you go out there on this internet and you find people that are doing interviews, and you look at somebody like Bill Pulte, who's been appointed to the cabinet by Trump. Bill Pulte started out in his grandfather's company called Pulte Home Group, and he was assigned to the board of directors when 2 other Elliott management individuals got assigned to the board of directors. Elliott went in and did this takeover of Pulte Home Group, and they gave him a spot, and so he got the spot, and he's in there, and he's just collecting his fees. He sold his grandfather's shares. He sold the shares given to him and left his grandfather's company and to become a Twitter philanthropist in 2019, 2020. Twitter philanthropist to go ahead and generate some interaction on Twitter, right? Who owns Twitter? Elliott Global Management. That's who sold it to Elon Musk. So if he went from one Elliott company to the next, and now, I mean, private equity is everywhere you want it to be. So I'll stay out of all of it. I'll just put it that way. There's one company that's not in the S&P 500. There's one company that makes a profit. There's one company that their executives don't get paid the way the other ones do. There's one company that has zero private equity. There's one company that is GameStop. And there's only one. You won't get this chance again. So
do you think private equity is that pervasive within the S&P 500? Like, are they literally,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you study it, right? You study it, and you can study it with me, John. Go watch Connected Dots and thank me later.
Go into
there's a whole
I know what my evening's going to consist with now.
Yeah, well, the thing was, it all started from a guy named Laser Haas. Laser Haas is a guy who tracked me down on the internet, and they were calling. They were like, "Hey, Laser wants to do an interview," and I was like, "Who's that?" And they're like, "Well, he's the CEO of eToys." I was like, "I never heard of eToys." eToys is a company, an internet.com company that wanted to sell toys online, and they went to Toys R Us with the idea, and Toys R Us said no. And that's when he figured it out. He said, "What the hell? What do you mean? I got this idea to save this company and we're going to make a profit." And they said no. So Mitt Romney and the boys from Bain Capital went ahead and bankrupt Toys R Us, and they started paying. Well, I don't want to say they. Allegedly, people were offered bribes to not do the deal. And Laser Haas did not take the deal. He actually turned into an informant for the SEC, 2 whistleblower cases. And you can look it up. It was on a Rolling Stone magazine in 2015. And he turned in everybody. And it was on deaf ears because the lawyers, the judges, everybody is in on this thing. And that's when I started studying at that point. Once I talked to him and I want to see if it was real, I went and checked it all out, and he's 100% correct. So I started looking at things. And once I found it, it's because there's winners and losers, Josh, okay? The winners, you might see them. You might notice them. They're in the top 20 companies in the world. And there's losers. They're called category killers. So for every Party City, Pier 1 Imports, Circuit City, Linens and Things, the list can keep going. Radio Shack, Sears, Kmart, those are all losers, right? They lost because private equity's in them. Who's the winning companies? Those are the ones that are taking the whole sum. There's only about 3 retail companies that exist in America that make a profit, really, when you let a big mega profit. Everyone else is just trying to stay open, mom and pop style. So that's where you're at right now in America. And it's unfortunate, but private equity is embedded. And that's the most I can speak on it here. Yes.
Fair enough. So what about, since we're on topics of people deliberately destroying companies.
Sure.
One of the accusations that was leveled by Houston Wade in my very first GameStop interview on this channel was that...
don't call it a GameStop interview, please. Don't.
Oh, well,
No. I'm with you.
One where we've talked about the topic of GameStop.
Sure.
Was the first time I talked to anyone about it on the channel. And he sort of talked about how he believed there was a lot of hedge funds trying to short companies out of existence in order to just profit massively off of the shorting on the way down, and then if the company went bankrupt, that the short positions expired and they never had to buy the shares back. How real do you think that is?
Tax implications on that. I think that's the small view window.
Okay.
Right. Small view window is, hey, there's these hedge funds and they're shorting companies into bankruptcy. That's not how it works. The companies have to make terrible decisions to go bankrupt, right? So to borrow money, to take the handout. And so that's when you see over-leveraged companies. And those companies have executives on the board of directors from multiple companies that were, bankrupt by private equity. Borrowed money, the first lien holders to get paid are your first lien holders, right? It's the people at the top who actually let you loan the money. The GUCs, the unsecured lender, the creditors, they don't ever get their paid off. They never get paid off. They're like class 6, class 8, class 9, but class 1's the one who gets paid off. So they don't have a problem with giving money to companies that are going to go bankrupt. They have assets they can carve out, and they do. They carve out their inventory, they carve out the assets. It's called the retail apocalypse. Go ahead and Google that one, and you'll see 264 companies that have gone bankrupt in the last, I don't know, 7 years, 8 years. So it's all the same thing. It's rinse and repeat. But for people that are looking at it from the outside in, they're thinking about the bet on it, right? They're going short sellers. They're making a bet. Do you know why they're making the bet? Because it's a for sure thing. There's private equity out here giving you the playbook. The Milken Institute holds these conferences for distressed credit investing. And once you see distressed credit investing and how they do it, it blows your mind. You should study Mullen Automotive, Aaron Pizer, and Michael Wachs, how they went in there and gave them $20 million. And essentially, these guys if you put in, I'll give you this example, it's a ridiculous amount. If you put in $1 million into Mullen Automotive 2 years ago, it's worth 26 cents today. Something to that effect.
Holy shit.
Mullen Automotive is the biggest crime in your world, in your whole life. But Drexel Burnham Lambert alum, Tyron Pizer, who's been arrested for insider trading and securities fraud, he's the second largest shareholder. Like, he worked next to Mike Milken at the desk in the 80s. So I knew what was happening there in David Mitchery and the lies that they put out, because I saw YouTube channels and Twitter accounts and Reddit accounts pushing it. Once I see that, I'm like, oh no, they're not real people. I'm a real person. Josh, I got to go to work. You know that. We talked about this. Yeah. And you're a real person. So there's real people out here doing interaction. Then there's fake ones that won't even put their name on it, won't put their face on the screen, and they're behind the walls and they go, you should buy more calls and puts. You should do. Don't give me ideas on what. Tell me what's the business and how do you support it? So I can show you product around me all damn day and how I hedge it, right? But the guys who are making these calls and gambling this money, they're the ones who are depleting the wealth from retail investors, without a doubt. If you want to see short sellers and them making profits and not, they only do it because they know who's on the board of directors and what's about to happen. That's the truth. And it's been shown 100 times over. You can go shorter right now. Go watch Connect the Dots and then look at every company I name. And then if you would have shorted them, you'd be a millionaire already.
Did you short them?
No, I refuse to play their game. I'm not playing their game.
I respect that.
I'm not here to make money that way. I mean, there's dirty money in this world, and I don't need it. I don't need any of it. I just want to inform people. I don't sell merch. I don't sell courses or classes. Connect the Dots is completely free. I just have a platform that I use, and I just promote the things that I feel people should know, and it's my life. That's what I have. That's what the channel is, and that's why it resonates with so many people. So I'm appreciative of the space that we created on the internet. My whole crew.
I mean, as you said earlier, we built the internet. I mean, yeah. Hopefully,
yeah, it makes you think. It makes you wonder, huh? Yeah.
But there's a lot of times when I'm interviewing people, and it becomes very, very, very obvious very quickly to me at this point. Whenever I talk to someone, it's like, hey, who's for real and who knows what they're talking about, and who is just an absolute bullshit merchant.
Absolutely.
Like, there was one guy who is an economist, right? His name is Paul Mason. I interviewed him. I read his book. It's called How to Stop Fascism. I was a bit bemused by the title, but I was interested because he was named as like, quote unquote, Jeremy Corbyn's favorite economist. I don't know if you know who Jeremy Corbyn is. He was the head of the Labour Party in the United Kingdom, and the guy who I thought could be a good prime minister, primarily because he's not in the club. And it's very obvious he's not in the club by the way that the club reacted to him. So that's why I was a fan. So I thought I'd read this guy's book, and I don't know. I didn't like the book. I didn't think there was that much actual real information in it. And I spoke to him, and it didn't feel like I was talking to a real person. And it turned out he was an intelligence agency plan, basically.
There you go.
Yes, like
well, it happens to me all the time. Happens to me all the time in my chat, my Discord. I ask the world. I ask you guys right now, whoever's watching the show, why me? Why do you guys feel the need to come into the chat and infiltrate this chat and try to get investors, not to believe the truth? And I'm a little small corner of the internet. Like, how does this happen? And, I did an interview last month with Mark Faber. Mark Faber, who is the author of the Boom and Doom and Gloom website. He's former Drexel Burnham Lambert alum, over 50 years in investing. He taught me something so much in the interview because he knew so much about markets. But you know what he said? He goes, Marantz, you want to know who's real and who's not? He said, you'll see what they do when the market goes down. That's when you'll find out if someone's real or not. And I didn't understand. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, look it. Do you sell your cars? Do you sell your house? Or do you sell your gold and your silver? He said, most people will go sell their gold and silver, and they'll go sell their assets before they ever sell their shoes, their shirt, and so that they can keep up with appearances. He goes, those are individuals who don't understand value and wealth. Look for it. There's signs out there. And I really saw the signs. Every time I talk to someone and they try to tell me about what they have or what they got or what they're getting or why they need money. Oh, I need this money because I got to make this payment. I got to buy this. I got to buy that. I have this coming up. I have the, and I'm just looking at them like, what are you doing? I'm building wealth for my children for when I'm long gone. I don't need to enjoy it. I don't need to go on vacation. I've traveled the world when I was in the military. There's a lot of things I've done in life. I don't need to do any of this. I just need to be here, make sure that these videos are on the internet forever and people can get educated by them, my folks included, my kids include, everyone. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I'm here.
What inspired you to start looking at this stuff?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Initially it was, I was tired of seeing the fakes. I saw trades. I saw Matthew Kors. I saw other YouTubers, and I said, no way. These guys are lying to people. They're trying to tell me this one investment with Apollo Global Management, AMC. There's no way in the world I would ever buy it because it's upside down, has a retained earnings of negative $8.5 billion. It's a dying industry, but for different reasons. And I was like, it's not it. It's not where it's at. Now it's down 99% today, and I was completely correct 4 years ago. But I already knew that then. And Adam Aron's still a snake, but when we look at it from the whole standpoint, I just kept going. I kept going down the rabbit hole where I wanted to educate myself on things that would help me at work, my job. So retail really helps. Understanding the way companies function and what they do, that's what helps me the most. So I'm just excited to learn more every day. And I've always been obsessive. I'm a video game guy. So playing video games, you always try to get better each day. If you can't beat the boss, you go back again and again and again, and you make attempts. And this is my attempts every day to enlighten and encourage and inform people. That's what I try to do.
Yeah. So you mentioned AMC. What do you think happened there when at some point it ran to $75? Why? What was good? Was that just some pump and dump from someone?
Oh my goodness, there's a whole theory on this, right? There's a hedge to it, hedge to certain positions and people and manipulating multimedia. And, everyone got manipulated. And that's because they couldn't read the man. If you read Adam Aron, if you ever saw him talk, I can't believe this guy. The guy comes from Apollo Global Management over 10 years, managed every Apollo Global company. And, his connections with Josh Harris are just too uncanny. And where he worked for 76ers, worked for Vail Resorts, worked for Starwood Hotels. He's done it all. So I'll stay out of any company that private equity touches, and certainly what he's touching and the other board of directors that he works with. So yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good not believing him, but it's just math. It's numbers. You look at it, you understand margins, you understand they don't make enough money to actually survive. They can't survive. So they're surviving off of people's money, other people's money, raising cash over $2 billion and have nothing. Have zero to show for it. That's them. So I'll pass. I'll definitely pass on that. Wow, the competitor, right? You have another website, another movie theater company that actually makes money, Cinemark. So they actually make a profit and they're run correctly and they're not overrun by Apollo Global Management since 2001. So JP Morgan bought in 2004, and those were the parent companies of this company. They went public eventually. And whenever companies go public, be careful. Some companies go public to take money from the public. Certainly if they're coming out of bankruptcy, like these other ones have. So you couldn't fool me then. You can't fool me now. And I'll just keep investing to Ryan Cohen. That's what I'm doing. So nothing else. I'm 100% GameStop on my portfolio, and that's where I will be. And that's my own portfolio. My retirement portfolio has, my company stock that I work for. That's just because it's given to me. Not that I would buy it, because I'm only buying GameStop with my lunch money, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm putting in mine in my I don't know if you have something like that. We have a tax-free ISA up to a certain amount, so I'm
Yeah.
just
We have
stack,
IRAs. We have stuff like
yeah,
that.
stacking my GameStop in that. It's just 100%
That's good.
allocation.
Can't
Yeah.
go wrong, my opinion.
Um, the AMC thing still weirds me out because do you think it's just people being stupid? The amount of influencers who were like all over that, or do you think there was some sort of like astroturf thing going on?
No, I think for the most part, like influencers, right? Like, they're going to talk about whatever's going to get them a view and a click, and that you realize right away if you post AMC in your title, if you talk about it and you talk about a positive light, you're famous. Instantly. Well, those guys have come and gone. They've come and gone, and the ones who said the truth about it, well, there's only one guy sitting in front of you. So I've tried my heart out, to tell the truth and not let it cost me everything. But I don't care. I don't care how many people watch or not. I know the truth is out there. So yeah, it was too easy. It was too easy just to, hey, AMC to the moon, boom, and everybody watches you, and the algorithm goes crazy, and there's bots everywhere. You knew there were bots because there's no interaction, no true interaction. I can show you my channel. We have over 1,000 members that show up every day, 1,000 to 2,000 people watching the show, no matter what. That they won't miss an episode. And earnings comes, and you'll have 10,000 people in earnings call, and it's a lot of investors. I hope people know that we own shares, and it's an informed place. So they just didn't have it. They didn't have it. They were parading and promoting each other, and it didn't work out for them, and it won't. Mullen Automotive is the worst one, and Bed Bath & Beyond is right behind it. But those were bigger criminals to me than AMC. AMC, if you love movies and you think it could be great and you want to support it, go for it. Bed Bath & Beyond was a play on people. It still is, allegedly. And you can't even buy the damn shares, but they'll still manipulate you. And Mullen Automotive is the biggest investment crime I've seen ever on Wall Street. And I say ever, and I don't say that loosely. I'm talking about ever. So I have Connect the Dots Part 20 and 26. You can go watch those, but it gets better.
What do you make of DRS in computer share?
I don't. When I see it all over the internet, I'm skeptical to run to it. And everything. Look at this. Let's all do this. Not for me. Roy and Kitty never DRS'd from what you see in his account. I had 50 shares DRS. That's it, 50. So a big thing on my channel, we say 51 a lot. They ask you how many shares do you have? Everyone answers 51. They'll never tell you what they have because it's 50 plus one every day. So my 50 DRS shares plus the fact that I buy one every day. And that's just what I've been doing for 4 years. But everyone knows, if they believe in DRS, it's one thing. The functionality of DRS, great. Liquid markets become illiquid, that becomes dry, and then this is what happens. Your price gets pushed down, so don't cry to me when you guys are like, oh, I can't wait, what's happening, look at this manipulation. They can still manipulate a smaller float, and that's what they're doing right now. The float you see is not the float that's out there floating around. So to have less than 1% in the middle of the day like we did today, trade back and forth, I know it's empty. But you'll have to have price discovery, market makers. You'll have to figure it out. You're not going to sell many shares at $24, $25. That's why the price can go down. People literally refuse to sell their shares at this price. It's too low. The fact that when it goes up, it gets more volume, it's because people are now going back and forth. But not really. Not really. People are hanging on to these shares forever. I'm hopeful the stock will double within the next year, and then it'll double from that point too. So you're looking for 50 sometime this year, and then 100 by the time 2026 comes. But I'm talking about 50 by like next month, maybe. Who knows? This number is going to be massive coming out, the quarterly number. So I'm very excited.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I know.
You think we're starting to see fruition of all of the moves that you talked about?
I know it for a fact that it's going to be $100 to $200 million worth of profit, without a doubt. I've already done all the math and factored in ratios of gross profit margins, amount of sales, and yeah, there's just no way. There's no way. They'll end up coming in at $5 billion worth of assets, current ratio of 5x, 6x. It's everything you want it to be. PE ratios are going to matter, and profit's going to matter. You're going to look, if they come in at, let's just say $100 million, they're 18x on profit, 13x on profit. Like, that's where you want to be. And is Wall Street going to tell you they're up 1,300%, 1,800%? We'll find out. We'll find out if Wall Street finally gets this right. But there's only one analyst that covers GameStop because they don't give out guidance. That's the punishment to GameStop for staying quiet. That's okay. It's not up for GameStop to know what the stock price is worth. It's not up to them. Let Wall Street figure it out. Let someone figure it out. But when you understand value, then that'll tell you what it's worth. This is why people won't sell, because they understand what they bought it for. The average price of a GameStop share over the last 4 years is $24 and some change. And if you're in the $24 range on cost average, you're okay. They just sold 140 million shares this summer, raised $3 billion, $4 billion. And what happens? The average price of those shares is $24. Yeah. And this is where you're at. This is where you're at. But it'll spring load out of here. I could show you charts. Like we can talk, we can talk logarithmic charts versus linear charts and all that. But you're looking at the greatest thing ever, from what I can see.
I mean, I want that to be true. I mean, it's just
true.
I refuse to get rid of the shares. I don't believe that there's a lot. I don't know. You see, even like a year or two ago, the people being like, okay, well, this story's over, blah blah blah. And I
was told by Marantz Rantz that the stock's worth $6.
Yeah, I mean, but
I was told by no, I'm serious. Marantz Rantz told me this stock's only worth $6. Marantz, I did an interview with him, and after the end of talking with him, he goes, "Oh, okay, maybe it's worth 28." He bought it the next day for 40. That's the point. So people will come running. There's FOMO that's still out there. There's fundamentals that are out there. There's margins that are out there. Margin calls. Let this get a little heavy. Let it get a little heavier. But GameStop's very close to the S&P 500. They just need to get their market value up. The actual market cap that they're looking for is around $20 billion. Once they're there, S&P 500 is available to them, eligible for them. Hopefully they get voted in. Once they're in, it's a murder. It's all she wrote, because now you have institutions that have to buy in that trade off that index. You have ETFs that need to rebalance that trade on and off the index. And if they all have to rebalance, they all have to buy in, you're going to see volume hit this stock when it hits the S&P, just like every other company does. Palantir just hit S&P 500 6 months ago, and it was so out of bounds. It was 500 on the PE ratio just after earnings. And people were like, buy it, Jim Cramer, buy it at 125, buy it. It's down below 90, and it's where it's supposed to go. You keep going down because it's just not there. It doesn't warrant $280 billion worth of market cap. But what I'm telling you, GameStop's so undervalued with the amount of cash they have. And you're talking about book value. Book value is $11 a share on GameStop. It's only trading at 1 or 2%, 2 times book. That's it. 2x on book. There's every company in the S&P 500 trades 6 or 7 or 10. Imagine GameStop trading at that. They would be $120, $150 a share. That's where we're going to be headed. So I understand fundamentals that way. And I'm sure every investor that gets out there, they'll figure it out. But Wall Street will come running. Analysts will get back into the stock. Analysts will start giving a rating, and then everyone will start listening again. But that's going to happen soon. Year or 2, maybe 3. Is that soon enough? I'll still be here buying more shares.
I think I'll still be here. I can't see myself selling them.
I got nothing to do. I'm good. I don't need the money.
No. I mean, the money would be nice.
Don't need it. I go to work. You make daddy going to work. That's it.
Yeah, as we all have to.
I'm with you, Josh.
There's one more thing I want to ask, but it's completely gone out of my head right now. It kept popping back in and then coming out. What was it?
You've been great, Josh.
GameStop,
great for me.
Many things. Investing, blah blah blah.
Kitty, Roaring Kitty.
Roaring Kitty. That's exactly what it was.
Okay, I figured.
What has he? Actually, how do you think he accumulated that many shares? That would be that's the best question.
Wow, yeah. I think he's a genius. I don't think people give him enough credit. He holds 5 series, or he held 5 series qualifications as an investor, and he was an educator for investing, and that was his real job. And then, on the internet, he's out there making videos, smoking cigars and cheers, but these are calculated conditions. And what he's doing is he's letting you know that he found it. He found something that, he found the algorithm, or he understands, what they're doing and how they do it. But if he's the only one, can you imagine? This man had $250 million, $500 million, almost $750 million GameStop
Was it
shares.
not a billion at one point?
No, 750
Okay.
million from what I saw, but he was approaching a billion if it would have hit this one number. They said $85 and whatever. I don't know. But he's close. Who cares? Well, look at what we're talking about. We're talking about numbers that are just unbelievable. If he sells, what happens? He rides off into the sunset. He's a billionaire or pretty close to it. And everyone else is going to be like, oh, we're out of here. This is it. You'll lose steam on it. I'm not invested because of Ryan Kitty. I'm just being honest. I'm invested because of Ryan Cohen. Ryan Kitty doesn't make decisions for GameStop and what the company does. I really enjoy Keith Gill's assessment of business. I think he has an acute view. I don't think he really knows all the ins and outs, but he's good. And I've analyzed it. I've watched his videos and I saw how he did it. But when it comes to picking out stocks and investments, this is the one that just really, really got it right, because a gamer's born every day. So I'll support Ryan Kitty and Keith Gill and what he's doing. And how do I think he got the shares? I think he's just a genius. And if anyone thinks anything else, then they don't understand that man. But he'll show up again one day, and he's going to have plenty of shares. And the more that they dilute, GameStop dilutes and raises funds, and the less he has to show the world how much he owns. He would have to do a filing if he had over 5%. So he doesn't yet. Yeah.
I mean, his story is truly, truly fascinating to me.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely bonkers. Like, because he started with, I believe, $65,000.
53,000.
53,000.
53,000. No, you're good. 53.
I should know that, though. I mean, but I should know it, right? Having written like several chapters on him, I should probably
watch the movie.
The movie. I've seen the movie.
Yeah. Well, the movie was wrong, huh?
Yeah. Well, the movie thought it was done. Well,
there's a money grab. All these guys doing movies and interviews about stuff. It's just a money grab for them. They want to be in the moment and hit it while it's hot. Nah, I'm good. I don't need to. The one documentary I did with James Janney, I found out, he's just angling it to attack retail investors and make us look like we were, out of our minds. That's okay. It's okay, James. I know you watch the interview. I know you support my man, The Gist here, but James Janney, huge YouTube guy, 2 million followers. And I tell you, it was such a snake and a stab in the back. He's very, very genuine man to your face. But to partner up with private equity, partner up with the meltdown, and to speak on it, and I tell you, they use those interviews against me personally, in my personal life. So there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes being a YouTuber, and in promoting the truth and talking about GameStop that people don't see. So I just tell people, if you ever want a platform and you want to get big and you want to do your thing like we're doing, be careful, because it'll come from all angles, and it has. My life has been threatened physically, personally, in life. Doxed is one thing. That's too easy. It's everything else, because I don't hide much on the internet. But these guys, they'll stop at nothing. They want to see you fail. People wake up every day hoping you fail, and they want to see your demise. That's how I can tell you how people are combating GameStop. But don't worry, all you GameStop investors. You're gonna win, and I know it.
You worried about how much hedge funds, private equity firms and stuff could be able to have even more influence in these realms, just with bots and AI, and like, does that concern you?
Not at all. They already have total control. I mean, they have people thinking Taylor Swift is the greatest musician of the last 20 years, when nobody even cared about her 5 years ago. Nobody cared until Carlyle Group bought out the whole damn catalog, and then The Messenger put it out that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are dating. Well, who owns The Messenger? Go look at that, please. Google it. And
this would explain I go on rants quite frequently to friends about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, but her music used to be better. Why is she successful now? Like,
yeah. Oh, I'm telling you why. They bought the catalog from Scooter Braun for $300-something million. Then they put her on tour. They're traveling the world, and these guys are manipulating mass media into thinking that she was bigger than Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber. She was not. She was just another pop star. And now she's the greatest thing that ever walked the earth? Worth billions and billions of dollars? No way. No way. I've seen it. I was here. But look who did it. Private equity owns it, and they own the media, and they promote it that way. So, you know, there's just a lot more to it. You got to go look and see that company called The Messenger who went bankrupt recently and who owned it. And then you'll be like, oh, I get it now. Private equity, connect the dots. Oh my God. There you go. But hey, I'll leave it alone.
Okay. Well, Marantz, I really, really appreciate your time, man. This has been like, I'm gonna have to study this interview. You were firing names and things at me faster than I could even write them down or Google them. So this is going to require a lot of reviewing for me in order to
well, I have no
educate
notes.
myself.
Just know that.
No, I don't believe you have it. No. You're spitting it at it like someone who just knows what they're talking about. Like, you know,
this is what we do.
There's certain things that I could talk with that level of knowledge about, but not, unfortunately, this topic. I mean, all I'm doing is with the interviews about this topic is trying to like ask people that seem to know what they're talking about. And I've made many mistakes in who I've asked on this channel.
Sure.
And
well, I've called you out on my channel before.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I haven't seen
said,
that.
don't ever interview, and I'll say the name, I don't care. Reese Politics. I said, why would you put Reese on? I said, this guy promotes AMC like every other tweet.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen any of the AMC tweets. I literally have only seen his GME tweets.
I was ready to fight. And I told my whole crew, I said, I'm never watching The Gist again. I watch every episode. And then you messaged me like a couple of weeks ago. And then I tell them, I go, hey guys, we're watching The Gist again. I'm going to be on the show. It was just funny. But hey, you know what? You live, you learn, you interview some people that you like. And, you know, I've done so many interviews myself that, you know, after a while, you're like, okay, I don't need to do those with certain people, certain ones, but there's some ones that you need them. So I just want to thank you again for promoting GameStop the way you can, the way you do. And you have a great platform and I support it. I've been watching you for a long time. I did watch the Houston Wade interview. That's why I don't like him, but he just showed himself, but it's a personal thing. But honestly, I support retail and I support education. So sometimes even Houston, even Tony De Niro or, you know, I guess PPC. Some people say some things that resonate with people, and you know what? I'm gonna give them credit where it's due, and even James Janney, whoever. But I'll never give credit to the Meltdown. So if you ever see him, let him know I'm looking for him. No, I'm messing. Appreciate you so much, though. I really do, Josh. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks very much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, brother. Yes, sir. Thank
you. Hey, listeners, real quick. Do you ever find yourself sitting watching the stock market like this? Well, now you could instead be ordering my book like this. It's the story of GameStop. You can purchase it with a hoodie, with acknowledgements, or just with the early backers edition. It's all about the GameStop story. It's the real story, not just what you've seen on films. It's exactly what has happened over the last 3.5 years. And with DFE back, I'm finally able to draw a conclusion to my book. Please pre-order it. It really helps me out. And you will get it eventually, I promise. Hopefully this year.